everybody, and welcome back to the United Star. We are back with one of my favorite videos of the week, and that is StarCast. Today, I am very happy to have Man United Boston with us. We have Kevin, Chris, and Jamil with us. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Hi, we're very good.
Doing great,
All good, man. So starting off, I would just before we start, I just want to make a small request to everyone who's watching this. We have aimed to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and for us, everyone who talks to us on Instagram, everyone who follows us, everyone who subscribed to our channel is equally important. So please hit that subscribe button, and for more great content from the United Star. And now with the video. So to start off, we'll start on a very positive note, and that is Bruno Fernandes has won his third Player of the Month of this calendar year. Now, we all know that people argue that, Bruno Fernandes is going head-to-head with KDB. Who do you think, and this is to all of you, is leading that race right now? Kevin, we'll start with you.
Well, I've always been a huge fan of Bruno. I was really in on him the summer before when we were rumored to be going after him, and I thought he was a player that we really needed to go after to help raise the creativity in the United midfield. So I've always been a fan of Bruno, and I think he's done amazing things for the team so far. A lot of times the team, our United's creativity hinges on his performance. So I feel like he is an important player for United going forward. There's no doubt that De Bruyne brings so much to the table in terms of creativity, but I think right now Bruno is in a right form right now, and has really helped influence the success of the team in the Premier League so far.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin's right. I think Bruno's transformed our team. It's all pretty obvious when he does play and he doesn't play. There's a sizable difference in the performance levels, the creativity. I think comparing him in terms of talent to Kevin De Bruyne is probably not the fairest comparison, because Kevin De Bruyne is a tool in amongst a series of tools that Manchester City have, from Raheem Sterling right the way through Aguero, Phil Foden, and that really quite talented attacking set of instruments they have. Whereas United, Fernandes is really he's the engine room. He does most of the work. He doesn't get a lot of support from the likes of Pogba, Fred, or McTominay with that creativity so much. So he has a lot more riding on his shoulders. So I think you see him having a much his impact is much easier to see because of that. That said, I certainly think without Fernandes, our team would be a shell of what it is now. So that you can't really put into words the impact that he's had since coming. One of the things that stuck out to me is a while ago, the BBC Sport, where I was watching one of the commentaries in the match, and they referred to Fernandes as the what was the word? They basically called him like he was the team, which is funny because when initially it was Pogba. Pogba was the star player in the team, and within 9 months, Fernandes has completely shifted that dynamic, which is, I think, unheralded. Maybe since Cantona, is like a player come in to that degree and changed a team. So, I think it's not so easy to combine them. I think Fernandes has a much stronger impact. As for who's the better player, I think that's a tough one to call. But I certainly think without Fernandes, we're a worse team without Fernandes.
Definitely. I completely agree with you. Finally, Jamil, what do you think of this?
I'm going more along with Chris here. It's kind of tough to compare them, especially with De Bruyne on City. They have a lot more different weapons, a lot of things to utilize, where Bruno has a lot bigger impact with us. You see that impact with United. He literally is, being the creative. The culture completely has changed since January when we brought him in. I mean, statistically, I think we are either first or tied in second in points in the Premier League since Bruno's come in.
I think we're first.
Right. Yeah, so you can see that much of an impact. And City, even if De Bruyne was injured a couple of times, and City was still, being City, unfortunately. I think it was last game where they were trying to rest Bruno for the first half, and you could see how we played. and they had to bring in the second half, and boom, 2 goals, like 2 assists, get assist and a goal right there. Like that's the impact that he's had. So styles of play are different, but for what they need to do, the impact that they have, I think Bruno does slightly edge them out, but it's tough to say who's the better player. But I say the bigger impact has clearly been Bruno.
True, very true. Now, we all saw the City game last night, right? There were many positives to come out. Now, I'm going to pose this question. What were the positives you took from that game? We'll start with Chris this time.
Yeah, so I've actually read quite a bit on stuff on Facebook and forums and Twitter and in various places, and I think I disagree with some of the feedback from that match. I thought the match was a pretty good result for us, all things considered. I think both teams have, people have talked about the match being very dull and boring. But you've got to look at the start to the seasons both teams have had. We've just been dumped out of the Champions League. City have had a really bad start to the season in the Premier League. So both teams were really looking not necessarily to win the game, but just to not lose the game. And I think that was a pretty positive for United yesterday, as we had a very solid first half where we were the better team. And in the second half, I think City were probably the better team as they chased the game. But I think it goes to show the fact that, on our day, we can go head to head with the best teams in England and certainly in Europe. And that Ole has tactically shown some weakness in games past and present, whatever. But I think he got it dialed in yesterday. He got the response from his defense. His defense is pretty solid. Again, we're still seeing the lack of form from our strikers, which is obviously a bit worrying. But overall, I thought that the positive was the message he got from the players. In that they got the draw, they got the point, they did the business, and they were able to put in a pretty composed, professional performance. And I think it's a big statement after the shock of going out in the Champions League, which was I would think a pretty sizable sucker punch to a lot of those players who have ambitions of doing bigger and better things with the club. So all around, we would have wanted the win, but a draw was a pretty good result in my mind, and we're still game in hand, top of the table, or close to the top of the table. So.
Definitely. Now, Jamil, I want to ask you one thing. Before the press conference before the City game, another question was fired to Ole about the situation of Paul Pogba, right? Of course, Paul Pogba and his agent have been the talk of the week since Mino Raiola came up with those damning statements at the beginning of the week, just before a crucial game. Now, in both these press conferences, that is before the Leipzig game and the City game, questions were asked about Paul Pogba, and it felt as if Ole was trying to avoid those questions. Does it feel like this club is trying to avoid the whole Pogba situation at the moment?
I think Ole is focused on winning. Obviously, it comes with these situations when you have to deal with the media trying to press questions and stuff like that. Ole's goal is always about the games that he has to deal with. That can happen in the back end. Press is always going to press him for that. Yes, like Raiola is always that person who always tries to cause controversy, especially with that. And I understand that Pogba might not like the role he's in right now, especially because of Bruno's been the better player, but Ole has to focus on Manchester United, not just Paul Pogba. So he's focused on winning those games. He's not going to say anything to the press that causes even more controversy, even if there was something to cause controversy. He's going to put the players that he needs to win. And I think going into the derby yesterday, I think Pogba played probably his best game so far.
Yeah.
It's scared. Yeah. If he's trying to do that to prove other teams that he can play, I don't know. But Ole's not focused on that. He'll deal with that on the back end. His goal is to make sure Manchester United is properly prepared to win. And that's what he needs to do.
Definitely. 100% agree. Now, Kevin, coming to you, after the game, of course, I agree that Pogba had a really good game against City yesterday. He came out with a cryptic post, which said that, everything between him and the club is absolutely clear. His agent comes out and says that Sport Bill are fake news for putting out that he is, in fact, under pressure from Pogba to find a new club. What do you think of this post? Is Pogba trying to woo his future suitors like Juventus or Real Madrid by saying that, okay, you know what, this all has happened, but I'm a professional, you know, he's performing on the pitch, probably to show them that, okay, you know what, I'm a professional and I really, you know, I can really do well on the pitch. Or is it just his loyalty saying that, okay, you know what, I'm a Manchester United player right now, and this my focus right now is Manchester United success. What do you see in that post?
Well, I've always seen like Pogba has always been a professional when it comes to talking to the press for the most part. He's never like, besides that one time in the summer where he talked about seeking new challenges, he's always been, I play for United. United's my club, and he's always put that face in front of the press because he doesn't want it to be misconstrued. With that said, he also has an agent who also like says the opposite thing he says a lot of times, and it causes a lot of confusion with the fans, and it gets everyone frustrated. I can totally see why people get frustrated about the Pogba situation all the time. But I mean, I feel like he's just trying to be the best player he can be, and for whatever team that is right now, that's for United. And if he's trying to play better to get a better contract somewhere else, then good on him, I guess. But I mean, if it helps us get results and it helps us bring, if he truly does want to leave, if he does like put that good face in and like helps us succeed, and he helps us bring either money back or a player swap back, then I think it's a good thing for both sides in the long run if he truly does not want to be a part of United. But I feel like, I mean, he has the history here, and I think he wants to win here. But I mean, time will tell if he truly is the Man United player that he puts out there, or if he wants to seek challenges elsewhere.
Definitely. I agree with the point that Pogba would get us a lot of money if should we sell him in January or transfer window. Now, coming to this, Kevin, I want to come back to you and ask you, what player would you sign if we had the option to sell Pogba?
I mean, I think any type of sale or deal right now is always going to be complicated because of the finances in the world and the current crisis we live in. So I feel like you already hear talk from all these clubs that can't go after the players they want. So, I mean, it's kind of a hard question because ideally I'd want him to stay and I'd want him to succeed with the club because he has that history here, and you can tell that he wants to be part of the rebuild of the glory that it was bringing United back to the shape and form that it has been in the past. I mean, it seems like Juventus and Real are always being talked about. So, I mean, if there's a way to swap a couple of players, if we can't sell them out outright, if there's a couple of players that we can swap for them, I would be down for that. But I don't know exactly what those players are, because the players that we'd want to go after probably the other teams don't want to get rid of. So we're always going to have that stalemate. So I don't know if there is like a 1-for-1 like swap type of deal like that, or a money deal, because I just don't see clubs spending that much in the next couple windows until things are kind of figured out.
Definitely. And actually, you know what, Fabrizio Romano himself came out and said that, you know, swap deals are going to be the deals for the future because of the whole COVID-19 thing. Talking of swap deals and Kevin talking about Juventus, now there are a couple of deals regarding Pogba that have the name of Juventus in it too. Now, Chris, this is the first deal that has come out, and that is Pogba goes there and we get Demiral, who's a centre back, and Paulo Dybala. Uh, Both of those players come to Manchester United. Now, would you take these players, or would you swap him for a more iconic player who Juventus supposedly want to get rid of, and that is our very own Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not personally interested in any of those deals. I think you know, Pogba's he's a complicated issue because, you know, when you watch him play, he has moments of, you can tell he's talented. You can see him pinging the passer, and he played a great game against City yesterday. He has the ability. He just doesn't seem to have the work ethic or the mentality right now, for whatever reason. You know, we do need defenders, certainly. I don't think Demiral is the right one. And then we do need a striker too, potentially. But you've got to question why a team like Juventus wants to ship their best striker, a player that's pretty prolific for them in Dybala. It just raises red flags, like, you know, very similar to Di Maria being sent to us, Sanchez being offloaded by Arsenal. Like, they're players that, you know, why would a club of Juventus' stature want to get rid of one of their best players? It raises a pretty big red flag for me. And so it's not something I'm particularly interested in. And I think Ronaldo, again, I know a lot of United fans have a lot of love for him. Obviously, he is one of the legends of the club. But I think we've got to start moving on from glories of the past. We've got to start looking forward. And I think Ronaldo would be great. Obviously, having Ronaldo back, selling jerseys, having him in the kit, great. But for a testimonial, one game, that's it. That's really all he needs to be playing for United anymore. I think the biggest thing that United can do with Pogba is to use him to build for the future.
Definitely.
Camavinga, probably the best centre midfielder in the world, the young one. You've got to look at Upamecano for Red Bull Leipzig, who is probably one of the best young defenders in the world. No, those are the kind of players we should be going for. We signed Palestra. We've got Traore coming. Those are two of the best young wingers in the world. You've got Greenwood, Rashford. Like, the team is built for youth. And, they've got to keep doing that. They've got to, it's going to take a while for it to gel, but those are the deals we should be going for, not trade deals for players that clubs don't want. It's not really ideal. It hasn't worked out for us in the past, and I don't think it'll work for us in the future. So
Definitely. Valid point. Now, what I personally would do is, this is something we actually need because we've got two players doing that one position's job. And that is, I would get a world-class central defensive midfielder, because then you have Fred and McTominay doing the same job, right, in front of two center backs. Now, Jamil, I want to come to you and ask you, what would you do? So we have options like probably sell Pogba, use that money to buy probably a Grealish, Upamecano, or Sancho. Now, if you were running the club and you had this power, what would you do?
It's tough because I think we will probably just if we could get Sancho, I think we would get him regardless if we sell Pogba or not. I think at the point we were just trying to cheapen the deal, and Dortmund was smart and just held their foot. Yeah. But if we truly do want them, we're Manchester United, we will just pay what we need to. We were just trying to be nice about it. It's tough because we really do need another, defensive player, another midfielder to help with creativity would be great. But I really don't have a person that I'm set on. I mean, I guess you said Ocampo was from Leipzig was good. I don't think Grealish would be nice, but I don't think he'll be a person that we would want to start. I think we would sign him and he wouldn't even start. And on top of that, the price tag that they added for him is ridiculous. Is even worth that. So it's really tough to see what we want to do. But Chris is right. We have to build for the future. We can't try to buy our way into this anymore. That's not how this league works anymore. You have to have consistency. You have to have youth, and you have to have depth, and that's what we need to do. We have to. I know a lot of people want this glories of the past, but we can't do that anymore. It's not how it works anymore. We have to build on the future, and City has done that. I mean, before Pep came in, they were buying young players to get ready for Pep. That was Pep's style. Chelsea, I mean, they got in trouble for having so many, people, in their youth squad, but they were doing it. We have to do that now. And so we have to understand that it's going to take time. We're not going to be the United of the past that could come into a team and just, blow them out, 4-1 right now. That could happen in the future, but we have to build that youth. And that's what Ole has done. He came in and he's got the youth. He's brought up a lot of players. I know Mourinho did start doing that a little bit, but he's really brought the culture in, and he's really big going back from when Sir Alex did, and he brought the youth players in. So it's going to take time, and that's what people need to understand. So it's tough to say, I want this person, because I'm only watching them right now. I don't know what the future holds for them, but what I think our main focus in our transfers is players that we can get hold them and grow in the future. Let's stop this. Let's buy now and try to win the trophy with money. That's not going to happen in this age anymore. Not in the Premier League.
Definitely. Now, one interesting point you made was something that I have actually been talking about whenever I talk to fellow United fans, is that the squad depth, right? We do have depth, but not in the positions we actually need.
Exactly.
Now, could you just illustrate on what positions actually need that depth, and what positions are lacking that squad depth in our current squad?
I would say our defense and our midfielder. Bai is always injured, unfortunately. Maguire he's playing every game. Sometimes, maybe we sometimes need to be a chance to rest. We can't rest him right now. We really can't. Lindelof has played well. Wan-Bissaka's played well. Shaw has been playing, came back, played very well yesterday. Williams is his backup, but we still need another we need another center back right there. Like, we need to keep building that partnership. Midfield, we need kind of some more wingers. We need someone, I know we brought Donnie in. I don't know that whole situation. I think Donnie's still just trying to get acclimated with the club, and try to build a partnership with Bruno. I mean, when McTominay's playing, he's going to play Fred. That's a partnership that we have in that midfield. We don't really have a partnership with Bruno right now. And if Bruno's going to be our midfielder, our creative player, we're going to need someone to have that person there. Pogba has started yesterday. He hasn't started a lot of games. Donnie has to come in. So midfielder is very key because we have to get those balls in to Rashford and Martial and Greenwood. There's a lot of times where we have to put Rashford and Greeny on the wing and create stuff. So if we get those midfielders and defensive players, I think we'll be better in our depth because we do have the striker depth right now.
Definitely.
Take another striker, we have a good one. And Cavani's done so far as he's in there. But I think the midfield and the defense are key parts there.
True. Defense is actually one of my points which I want to ask Kevin. Kevin, I am someone who believes that to partner with Maguire, you actually need a fast centre back because Maguire and Lindelof are close to the same player. Maguire is just a better, more aerially dominant version of Lindelof. Do you agree with this? And if not, who do you see as a proper centre back partner for Harry Maguire?
Oh, I totally agree with it. I mean, to go back on like the players that we needed, I thought like I was kind of jealous of the business that Arsenal did this last summer when they got Gabriel and they got Partey, because I was like, these are the two players like that. Gabriel could pair fairly well, left-footed, could put Harry Maguire back into his proper spot in the center back, and then Thomas Partey was that defensive midfielder that we were kind of really looking for, because we do have that great partnership with Fred and McTominay, but he kind of makes the ability to have like both the strengths of both those players in one player. I do think, I mean, say what you want to say about the partnership of Lindelof and Maguire. They've had ups and downs this season. I mean, we don't want to talk about Tottenham. We don't want to talk about these other matches. But I mean, they've also from that have really gone on to have a fairly strong partnership for the most part. Like not only after those losses, but in the previous seasons, they've grown to have that partnership. So I still trust that process. I mean, ideally, Bai would be like that kind of like that perfect, fast, speedy, athletic partner to go with Maguire, but he has the injury issue that we're always going to have to deal with Bai. It seems like it's unfortunate because he kind of like fits that mold to a T. I mean, I feel like we have strength in the defense. It's just like, how can they stay fit? Like Axel, we haven't talked about Axel at all. I feel like he is a United player that can really grow into a center back like leadership position going forward. Are him and Maguire a little too similar? Maybe. They're both like very strong, like somewhat good on the ball. I mean, I feel like Harry's a little bit better on the ball and with his passing. But Axel has like that great like defensive mentality and like strength to be able to body any player coming into the box. Like an exact pairing with Maguire. I mean, like I said before, like I thought like Gabriel was a player that would have fit like really well with a partnership like them together, and unfortunately we weren't able to sign him this last summer. And I don't know if anyone else has an idea of who an ideal player would be in the group. No. But
I would say, you're right. We didn't really bring up Axel or even Foster-Mensah. But I put those guys they've been more on the wing. They've been backing up when Bissaka has been playing or Shaw or Williams haven't been playing. They haven't really been playing as full center backs. But I don't know if they're possible. But when they have played, they've been more playing as those left backs or the right backs, more than the center backs, really.
Definitely. Now, coming back to the man between the two posts, Chris, I want to ask you. Midweek news broke out that Dean Henderson was yet again upset with Solskjaer promising him more game time, but he's not got enough game time. Now, when Dean Henderson extended his contract, I mean, I love Dean, but I was not too happy with that extension because we have two of the highest paid goalkeepers in England, and only we can play only one of them. Now, reports suggest that Dean could leave on loan in January if he doesn't get enough game time. Now, what do you make of this? Do you think Dean is actually helping David De Gea, become the consistent self that he was pre 2018, or is Dean's future getting a little off the tracks, and he does need a loan move off out of the club?
Yes, it's actually probably one of my favorite things to talk about with United. Jamil knows this all too well because I have a very strong opinion on this.
Arguments about this many times.
I have a very strong opinion on this. I think if you want to just talk about De Gea first, you look at the last 2 seasons when he's had no real competition for the goalkeeping role at United. Yeah, we've had Sergio Romero, but it's been pretty clear that he's only being played in the minor cups. And then when we get to the later stages of the minor cups, De Gea's back in goal. So De Gea always knew he was the number one choice. He didn't need to prove it. He didn't need to fight for it. He was guaranteed it. And I think you see that dip in performance from him over the last 3 years. As he's got more secure and more comfortable, his performances have dropped. You can't debate that. You can't question it. It's a fact. But then you had the Dean Henderson thing going on. Obviously, he's probably England's future number one goalkeeper. He's going to be one of the best goalkeepers in the world if he continues to develop at the current pace. So he's the kind of goalkeeper that United just simply can't afford to lose. They can't afford to sell him. I know Chelsea were interested in him and various other clubs. So they can't sell him because they need him to replace De Gea. So you've got that. You're stuck with 2 options there. They've brought Henderson back with the aim of, trying to develop him into De Gea's successor. De Gea's probably got another 2 or 3 years maybe before they look to replace him. And you can see that De Gea's performances have improved now that he knows he has somebody he has to fight with. The problem being now that De Gea has risen to the challenge, is playing better, is performing better, so Dean Henderson's not getting in the team. And now he's the new Sergio Romero playing in the minor cups in the games that are of really little importance, which for a player that's been on loan at Sheffield United for 2 seasons and has played every game, obviously very frustrating. So United have really backed themselves into a really tough corner. And I know it's probably one of the things that me and Jamil have probably disagreed on the most, is I think, United probably should have bitten the bullet and looked to have moved De Gea on last summer. If that's what they want to do with Henderson. I said maybe that's not what United want to do, but at some point they've got to make a decision, and it's not going to make everybody happy, unfortunately.
True.
They're either going to lose De Gea, or they're going to lose Henderson. That's the reality I see, whether it's this summer or whenever it is. They've got to pick one. You've got an able deputy in Sergio Romero who's quite happy to play second backup. He's not happy to play third string, which is understandable given that he's still relatively young for a goalkeeper. So I think it's a complicated issue. I think you put Dean Henderson out on loan again. That may be his last. I don't think he's going to want to come back to the club the more times he gets the limelight. It's a tough question. It's a tough question. I have a lot of love for De Gea. I have a model of in my apartment, but all good things come to an end. You've got to be ruthless, I think, a little bit, and it does suck. But I personally think it might be time to move him on and give Henderson that role.
I mean, we've been talking about building for the future, and I feel like that this is like a crossroads that is a perfect example of like building for that future. Do we go with the old? Oh, sorry.
No, you're right. I just think it's a tough situation. There's not a happy answer to it for Henderson or De Gea. I think it's
definitely. Jamil, what are your thoughts on this?
I do agree. He says it's going to be a bad party between. It's going to be a bad situation for either Henderson or De Gea. I think at the end of the day, if Manchester United's smart, they're going to have to be like, "Hey, David, we have to." When we do that, that's the toughest part.
Yeah.
I just wanted to already do it now. I think this year, maybe next year at the max. After that, you have to make a decision no matter what. And Chris, we put Henderson on loan. He's not going to be happy. I mean, it's a tough situation. I think De Gea, and he has played better. Now he has that competition, and he's earned the right. I think if he fell off, then I think it makes the decision easier. But obviously, he stepped up to the plate. It makes it harder. But we do have to, if you're going to cut ties, you have to cut De Gea just because you're building for the future, age, and money. But the biggest win is when do you do it? And obviously, you know, with the new players coming in and younger players, they're going to connect more with Henderson more than De Gea. De Gea sounds weird because he's the old age right now. So that's I don't know how true the rumors are about how many people want him in the locker room, but if there is, I can see it. But it's when we want to cut it, and I still think De Gea has earned at least this year. Granted, the season's still very early. Who knows if there's a drop off, but I still think he's earned at least a year to defend his post.
Definitely. When you spoke about the depth in the squad, one particular position I started thinking about, and that is the position of the striker. Now, Kevin, I want to ask you this. People have come to criticize Martial this season after a fantastic back end of last season, and they say that the road forward is probably one without Martial, right? What do you make of this? Should we continue to have Martial at the club, or would you want to sell him and move on to get someone like Haaland, which I personally don't believe will happen because of his agent Mino Raiola?
I mean, I'm a big Tony Martial fan. I'm always going to root for him to succeed at the club. But I feel like him and Rashford, and I guess now for a little bit now this season with Greenwood, is our biggest criticism of our strikers is that inconsistency. I mean, I think all of them have it. There's always like one of those three is like on a hot streak while the other two seem to be cold. And it'd be great to see like what United actually looks like when all three are hitting on all cylinders. We just haven't like really seen that yet. We saw bits and pieces of it last season when everyone like when both Martial and Rashford were kind of like had that little bit of a competition about who's going to lead the team in goals at the end of the season, and they both were kind of working like kind of really showing like that partnership that could go in the future. But I mean, the inconsistency that we've seen this season just brings back that question of, is this really what the future holds? Like, is Rashford, Martial, that partnership, is that really our future, or is it just something that we're trying to hope for? And I mean, of the two, obviously, Tony's going to be the one that is like the one holding he's the one that's always going to be the one that's out the door compared to Rashford, because we're going to do whatever we want or do whatever we need to do to keep Rashford happy and with the club because of his history and all he's done for the club and for the country, especially in the last year or so. I mean, if we can try to get Haaland, I mean, he's an obvious future talent that's going to be a part of world football for years to come. Knock on wood, if like his progression keeps going and he stays healthy. I mean, it would have been nice to get him before he went to Dortmund, but I feel like going to Dortmund is also going to help him like hone his craft and bring him to that next level. And hopefully after that, we are able to scoop him up. But that's obviously, I mean, bringing him in definitely means the end of Martial at United, it seems like, because they both want that number 9 spot. They both want to be up top, and any striker you're going to bring in, hopefully right now, like bringing Cavani, it was just good for backup, but also good to like help build him, like teach the strikers how to improve. But at the end of the day, I feel like we're giving them all the chances. And if they just don't, at the end of the day, if they don't fulfill it and say that, have that consistent form, then we need to move on from them. Because I mean, this team, it doesn't matter how good our defense gets or anything like that. If we don't start putting the ball in the back of the net, we're not going to get to the top of the Premier League. We're not going to get to the upper echelon of the Champions League. We can't have this inconsistent form, and it really kind of starts and ends with the striker position right now. So I would say, to wrap it all up, that long-winded question, I would say I would want Tony to stay. I would want him to succeed because I want to wish the best of luck for all of our players. But I mean, if there is a Haaland out there, if there is another striker out there that really wants to come to United and really take us to the promised land, then it's a hard question to take. But I mean, eventually it's not like we haven't given these players chances to prove themselves.
True. A very good point you made about the inconsistency in the club. Chris, I want to come to you about this. We have kind of been really inconsistent at home throughout the season. We've lost to, obviously, the game we all should not talk about, that is the 6-1 against Spurs. We drew in a dire performance against Chelsea. We lost to Arsenal by a dodgy penalty, but although to be fair to them, they dominated us. And then we drew 0-0 to City. Last year we won we won one of the games against Tottenham. We drew the second. We won 3 times against Chelsea, and we won 3 times against City. Now, do you think Ole's tactics are being figured out by managers? And of course, Roy Hodgson beat us 3-1 on the opening day of the season. Do you think that Ole's tactics are being found out by these managers?
I think there's certainly an aspect of that. Certainly, I think for me the biggest thing is the lack of fans. I think that's playing more of an impact these home matches than anything else. Tactically, I think we can all point to things that we don't necessarily like about Ole's tactics to varying degrees. But I also think he does get some of his tactics right. In some of the games, famous response against PSG away. We've had lots of really solid performances under Ole. I think the biggest things for me are the lack of fans. That's obviously really key. You look at the home records for a lot of teams, they're struggling at home without the fan support. And, having been to Old Trafford with Jamil, it makes it, you can see the difference it makes for the players. And I think that's a really sizable impact. And I think the other biggest thing is that you've got to remember these players. We've talked about the lack of depth that United necessarily have in their team. They're playing games every 2 to 3 days right now. That also leads to just really considerable fatigue. That game against Leipzig midweek was a really important game for United. I will have imagined they will have expended a lot of energy into getting a result there after going down, was it 2-0, 3-1, so on and so forth. So, when you see these games afterwards that drop off against City, others, I think that's the bigger thing for me. And I think, you can question Ole's substitutions is probably his biggest the biggest criticism of Ole is his substitutions. But again, he doesn't have that depth to be able to make substitutions that are going to impact the game, which is why you see players like Fernandes and playing more minutes than they should be because they need to be on the pitch to impact the match. And it unravels the squad a little bit. Southampton's a great example. He basically started a second string team in the first half to try and rest players. The United got absolutely dominated by them 2-0, and then had to bring on the first stringers to get the victory in the end. So for me, that's the biggest issue: is the lack of depth is coming back to haunt us again and again, and not necessarily the actual tactics on the pitch. I think Ole is really restricted in what he wants to do by the players he has. Jamil can probably test this too, so it's going to be my friends. For me, Shaw is one of the weakest links we have in the team, and he really causes a lot of the problems. And it's things like that are the biggest issue. If Ole had a better wing back, some better wingers, I think you'd see our play be a lot different. He'd have to be a lot less conservative, but he doesn't have a lot of faith in his defense, so he plays 5 at the back in big games, which cuts down your attacking ability. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I don't put too much. I think Ole can do better, but I don't put too much of it on him.
True. Now, our form away from home has been absolutely fantastic. Right, I don't think we've been beaten away from home yet in the Premier League. Now we face Sheffield United, Chris Wilder's Sheffield United, who have not won a single game in the Premier League this season. What do you guys think? Are we going to go for the win? Is it going to be an easy win, or will Sheffield United give us some sort of fight and we might end up with a draw? I personally feel very positive about this game.
Go
Sure. I was gonna start with you.
You want to go in thinking, okay, Sheffield United's at the bottom table. You want to go in thinking, yeah, we're Manchester United going there. But every team who's in the Premier League has earned the right to be in the Premier League. Every game is tough. And another thing that we also have a problem that we're trying to fix is sometimes we play down to our competition.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in there, we go to that game like, okay, Sheffield's the bottom. Let's just like go in there, get the win and get out. They will hit us, and they will hit us hard. They're fighting for they're fighting to survive. So like, it's this early in the season. They haven't won a game. They know what they need to do to try to stay up. They're gonna come at us, and they're gonna try to beat us. Like there's no fear in facing Manchester United anymore. We're treated like any other club. So if we play like we should play, should be a fairly good game. Have we played like that? No, we're very inconsistent. And so I don't go into any game anymore thinking, oh, this is gonna be a confident win, because we don't play that way anymore. We're so inconsistent. So we'll see. But they're fighting, and if we play down to their level, we can see us going down, giving up the first goal in the first 10 minutes or something like that, like we've done a couple times. So we can't go in these games just being confident. We have to go in these games thinking, hey, what team is going to come out? Are we going to come out to that team that, beat PSG, beat Leipzig 5-0, or we're going to come into that team that, gets crushed if we don't do our attack, if we play inconsistent. So it's tough nowadays. Every game is, you're on your edge of your seat.
True.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I mean, like, not only do we play down to them, but they also play up to us. Like, every time that, like you were saying, like Jamil was saying, like they don't have fear facing us. So we'll go into there like either just playing like a heavy match like we just did against City and against Leipzig, and take them a little bit less seriously, but they like go in there with a full-on game plan, and they stick to that game plan against us all the time, and they always seems to have like some early success, and then we're always playing catch up. I mean, my only confidence is that, like I talked earlier about our consistency up front, like Sheffield United has like no consistency up front. So that's my only confidence, is like, if we have problem putting the ball in the net, they definitely have a problem putting the ball in the net. So that gives me the only hope, or it gives me more hope that we're going to go in there and take care of business like we should be doing. But I mean, like Jamil was saying, like we always find a way to make these games interesting when they shouldn't be. And hopefully we course correct going forward, especially because we're going to have a lot of these fixtures coming forward in the holiday season.
Come on, lads, we're going to batter them 4-0. What are you on about?
Yes, that's what I want.
What are you on about? 4-0, 5-0, let's go.
We'll get that goal differential back for after that.
Yes.
Harry Maguire hat trick.
Okay, final question of the day, and this is one of the most bizarre things I've seen in this week, is Mbappe has reportedly told his friends that he's going to join Man United. I absolutely do not believe this, although I would want to know everyone's opinion on this. Chris, we'll start with you.
I didn't know it was April 1st. That's all I'm saying on that one. Someone's having a laugh.
It's one of those things. I always laugh at when it gets close to transfer season. Every day, some player out of the blue coming back, and then we did talk about, especially when we were earlier with the Pogba, like every transfer window, everything we hear, Ronaldo's coming home. It's like, with Manchester United, you can't take these transfer rumors seriously unless you officially put in a bid, and sometimes those reports are even false too. It's really tough to trust anything that comes out, especially in the English media, where they just like to cause controversy.
Very true. Kevin?
So I don't see that happening anytime soon.
True. Kevin, what do you think about this?
I mean, I have to agree with the guys here. Like, I don't see much into it, and like we're always going to be, our name is always going to be put out in the press to try to either A, grab attention, or B, try to drive the number up for whatever team is actually going to go after these players. So it's always with a grain of salt when you read these things. So until it's a let's go, like it's a official like bid being put in, you can't put any faith or any thought into it.
True.
Don't get me wrong though, I'd love Mbappe up front. I mean, that would be fantastic. But,
definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
I would love a lot of players in United too. It doesn't mean it's actually going to happen.
His goal scoring record in France is unparalleled, but likelier chance to see pigs fly than that. Than us.
Also the
selecting
French
Mbappe.
league, not the
Very
Prem.
true. Very true. And with that, we end our StarCast for today. Thank you, Kevin, Chris, and Jamil for joining us. I personally had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. Please do subscribe to United Star and please go follow them on Instagram at Man United Boston. The link is in the description below, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for
you.
having
Have
me.
a good one.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our video. If you do like it, please click on the thumbs up and please subscribe to our channel. Click on the bell icon to get daily notifications from the United Star. Follow us on Instagram at the.unitedstar and we will see you soon.